Hello world! This week in episode 3, we will be talking about Fenton and their Silver Crest line, Steimer Glass Company's Chicken Wire pattern, Adams Glass Apollo pattern, can openers, and a pattern known as Bullseye and Daisy. Before we discuss all of that, I want to talk about this new idea I had recently regarding what to do with coffee pots that I can't sell as coffee pots. There's a few reasons this might happen. This one shown here, for example, is a 1950s Sunbeam Coffee Master pot. This model had a bit of a flaw where the grommet that holds the two pots together would get hard after a few years and you can't get the two pots apart anymore. So I sell the cord, the filter rod, the lid, etc. and then I'm left with this coffee pot that I can't do much with. So I thought I'll just propagate these philodendrons and put them in a pot. And I've been selling coffee pots that way at the consignment shop for some time now. Alright, let's check out some of the items that sold this week. Since the last video, I sold this Sunripe apple juice can opener. We will be talking extensively about openers here in just a minute. Also, we sold this basket, which you might recognize from last week. It didn't go up any. It ended at the final price of $68.75. But I'm very happy to announce that this basket went into one of the most prestigious Northwood collections in the nation and probably the world. It's absolutely huge. So I'm very glad about that. Also, we sold this International Harvester ashtray, advertising the International Harvester and the Howard Cooper Corporation. International Harvester and John Deere are probably the two most collected farm implement companies. Both have rabid fans, and these things will always sell. Also, we sold this flyer titled School Lunch Suggestions. This is from Loma Linda Foods in the 1970s. I pick up recipe booklets by the box for like $1, and then they sell pretty well. They are easy to photograph, easy to package, light to ship, and abundant to find. Also, we sold this swung vase by Fostoria Glass. This is in their number 1299 long buttress pattern. This is a pattern that was introduced in 1904. We will undoubtedly talk a lot more about Fostoria and their patterns in the future. We can talk more about swung vases as well in the future. That's another topic for another time. Okay, first up this week is this piece of Fenton Silver Crest. Fenton Art Glass was founded in 1905 and just closed in 2011, and they made a lot of cool glass. The very first piece of glass that I bought and sold on eBay was a Fenton orange thumbprint basket. It still had its hang tags and its stickers. I didn't know much about it, but I liked it enough and it sold quickly and well enough that soon I had multiple Fenton books and was trying to see what else I could find. This pattern was called Silver Crest. The crest refers to the little thin strip of glass on the outside edge. You can find all different colors of crests on their glass, usually with milk glass as the base, and then they have crystal crest, they have blue crest, rose crest, peach crest, emerald crest. Then they have some that have non-milk glass based colors and all kinds of weird designs that were one-offs here and there, or special orders or whatever they were. I don't know. This company's always been very prolific, and this pattern was no exception. I'm sure in the future we'll be talking a lot about Fenton and lots of their other patterns because it's one of my favorites, as I said. Another piece I listed this week is this triangular bowl by Steimer Glass Company. In the glass world, a little bowl with a handle on it like this is called a nappy. I have no idea why. I didn't make that name up, but that's what they call it. This is a pattern called, well, I learned it as chicken wire. Steimer originally called this pattern diamond. Collectors often refer to it as chicken wire or sawtooth honeycomb or even serrated block and loop. It was made in 1906, as far as I know, only in crystal, and easily recognized because of the little notches around the hexagons on this pattern. I don't know of any other pattern that has that feature, and this is a fairly collected pattern and a pretty good seller. In fact, I just listed this week as an auction format because I couldn't find another reference to a nappy, and I got a bid right off the bat at $38.75. So tune in next week and we'll see how it does. Here's another neat piece I picked up this last week and listed. This is a covered butter dish made by Adams Glass Company in 1886. These days, if you think of covered butter dish, you think of a small rectangle with a lid on it in order to fit the blocks of butter found in the stores of today's world. But in 1886, your butter came fresh out of your churn in your kitchen. You didn't go to the store and buy it. It was made from cream that you processed yourself, and it didn't come out in nice little blocks. It came out in a blob that was more suited for a little bowl with a cover cover on it like this than a rectangular slab. Anyway, this pattern was called Apollo by Adams, characterized by the alternating ovals and lines at the edges with a plain body. But not all the pieces you find will be frosted. You can find Apollo in many different end treatments, such as this frosted treatment, which is a form of an acid etch, or you can find it with different colored stained parts or combinations of treatments. You can even find pieces in different colored glass, so it's no wonder this is a very popular pattern. And that brings us to can openers. Back in April, I bought a box of vintage metal can openers, somewhere around 165 of them in a box that I paid $5 for, or about 3 cents each. I love buying things in bulk when I can, because the box said $1 each, but when I asked how much for the whole box, they told me $5, which works out to about a 97% bulk discount. Many of them had beer advertising on them, but there were lots of different products being advertised, from cottage cheese to motor oil. I sold about $300 worth of the better ones off of the top, and then sold the remaining ones left in the box for $88.75 after keeping about 20 more behind to list for myself. These are ideal for listing on eBay. They are easy to photograph, easy to list, easy to package, and light to ship. Many of the ones I kept are similar or duplicates of ones I've already sold, so I don't even have to write new listings. I just modify my old ones. I listed a few more from my stash this week, including this one advertising Black Label beer. I've already sold a bunch of the Black Label ones from this lot. Black Label was a heavily merchandised brand, and as such develops a fairly sizable collector base. You can find all kinds of Black Label merchandise out there, including this Black Label golf tool that is currently in my store. I also listed this Shasta opener this week. I've already sold some Shasta ones from this lot, and also I sold some 7-Up openers and a Coca-Cola opener from this lot. Soda brands, both common and uncommon, are all quite collectible. Not just the merchandise advertising those brands, but even the old containers. Also this week I listed a Regal Select beer opener and a Canada Dry opener. Plus this Hamm's beer opener, featuring the iconic Hamm's beer bear. That bear was made into a ton of different merchandise items and is super collectible. I wouldn't bother to list this opener if it didn't have that bear on it, but the bear is so collected I know someone will buy this opener. Besides, I've already sold a few from this lot. Well, that brings us to this last item up for discussion this week, this small-handled bowl by US Glass in their Newport pattern. Most people just call this pattern Bullseye and Daisy, but the factory called it Newport. This double name conundrum unfortunately exists across the antique glass world. What happened is that early glass researchers would make up names based on a visual description whenever they didn't know the original name. But with the advent of the internet, connections are being made and many of the original factory names are being found, leaving us with both the name that everyone calls the pattern and the name the pattern originally was called when it was first produced. So, did you recognize this as a nappy? See, you're learning already. This pattern was produced in 1909 and is another pattern where you can find all kinds of different finish treatment combinations. You can find it in plain clear glass with red dots, purple dots, gold dots, or even green dots like this bowl I use in my home. But if you find this pattern in colored glass instead of clear glass, then you have found a reproduction. Well, that's all we had to talk about this week. If you liked this discussion, please feel free to subscribe and follow and push any other buttons necessary to make sure you don't miss anything. Until next time, remember to take good care of each other, and I'll see you then.